backup quarterback who could definitely be a starter somewhere else.
Let's say Drew Lock is going to go. We found out just right now that he's the starting quarterback.
There are some guys who are currently buried on the depth charts that could definitely be a QB1 if they get the right opportunity in another city. So with that out of the way, how about we dive right into it? Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's reintroduction to the backup life was a relatively recent development, in part due to the organizational chaos that was afoot in Sin City. It was clear that he was Josh McDaniels' guy, and with McDaniels being swiftly jettisoned out of Mark Davis's facility in the middle of the season in dramatic fashion, I might add, in a way that a captain would have been sent to walk the plank off a pirate ship, Garoppolo was a natural next domino to have fall. Antonio Pierce was slotted into head coaching duties, which he has since retained, and the Raiders' offense was handed over to the unheralded Aiden O'Connell. And just like that, Jimmy G was a backup again.
Oh man, not again.
At this point, there's almost a 0% chance that he ever returns to the Raiders next year, and now that he's gotten popped with a 2-game suspension, his chances of getting a starting job in 24 have diminished significantly. I would go as far as to say that they're almost zero. That said, Garoppolo is still a guy that was 1 or 2 plays away from winning a Super Bowl, and he has the ability to do it again. Yeah, he isn't a perfect quarterback by any means, but he can make some throws downfield, manage the heck out of an offense, and the guys around him have always seemed to respond to him as a leader. It might not be at the beginning of, or even at any point during the 2024 season with the way that things are trending right now, but Jimmy Garoppolo very much deserves a chance to start elsewhere. It's really just a matter of finding the right team and opportunity. Davis Mills. While Davis Mills may never be Tom Brady, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the chops to be an NFL starter somewhere else now that CJ Stroud has emerged as a bona fide star in Houston and firmly put that opportunity out of reach for him. Listen, I get it. It isn't like Davis Mills was lighting the world on fire when he did get the chance to start for the Houston Texans. Not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. But the reality of the situation is that Mills was thrust into one of the most challenging situations that a young quarterback could be slotted into. This side of following in Tom Brady's footsteps in New England. Mills never had any expectation of being the starter in Houston, at least not until the bizarre and disturbing Deshaun Watson saga kicked off. Mills was then forced to fill in for the embattled Watson as a young quarterback, and while he didn't exactly make his case to hold on to the job for life, clearly, he did manage to piece together some fairly impressive moments along the way. Over his 28 starts, Davis Mills maintained a positive touchdown-to-interception ratio and showed the propensity to run a professional offense. And it wasn't just flashes with a random throw here or a play there, but it was a sustainable glow, if you will. It would be interesting to see him get a chance with a more established team and offense, especially now that he's gotten a chance to actually cut his teeth a bit in the NFL. Marcus Mariota. Okay, it's crazy to think that Marcus Mariota is going to be heading into his 10th season in the NFL. Like, roll back the clock a little bit. There was so much excitement about Mariota coming out of Oregon, and now he's just sort of turned into a journeyman. After all, he had stints with the Raiders, Falcons, and now the Eagles after breaking into the league with the Titans as one of the top picks in the draft. His role right now is backing up Jalen Hurts, but we've seen that when he gets into the action, he can still make plays, and he has the mobility to make things very uncomfortable for the opposing defense. Honestly, I just think it would be great to see Mariota get another chance somewhere else. Jamus Winston. All right, listen, the Jamus Winston experience is going to be filled with ups and downs. It has been that way even dating back to his days as a superstar at Florida State. The man is filled to the gills with energy and excitement about playing football, so much so that it played to his disadvantage from time to time. Now that we're approaching a decade into his NFL career, he has somehow become resigned to backup duties. But man, he is way too talented to be a backup quarterback for the rest of his career, especially not with the level of quarterback play that we see around the league on a week-to-week basis. Yes, there were 30 interceptions as well, but we're talking about a guy that threw for over 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns back when he was with the Buccaneers. Even with all the mistakes that he's made, that kind of production is undeniably rare. Getting benched may have been the best thing that ever happened to Winston long-term, because it gave him a chance to not only start over and address some mechanical concerns, but also link up with Sean Payton and Drew Brees in New Orleans, where he was able to learn from 2 future Hall of Famers about what it means to be a pro. With Winston seeming to have matured a significant amount, it would be great to see him get another chance to slot in as a QB1 elsewhere. Maybe out in Denver now that Sean Payton has landed in the Mile High City and is looking to replace Russell Wilson. Just saying, who knows? Anything could happen. It just seems like it would be an amazing fit. Jacobi Brassette. Jacobi Brassette is a high IQ player that could be slotted onto the right team and excel. His teammates seem to absolutely love him, and they always want to go to war for this guy, which, hey, that's half the battle as a quarterback in the league. He has a well-developed ability to read defenses and make smart decisions under pressure, and despite public opinion, he's not merely a game manager, rather a game enhancer, as Brassette consistently brings stability and a calming presence to the huddle. Brassette has shown that he can step up and lead, not just fill in. The NFL tends to undervalue a steady hand in favor of the flashy arm, but Brassette is the kind of guy that can orchestrate an offense at a starting caliber level. Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is another guy that has had a couple of opportunities to start over the years. Most recently with the Colts after Anthony Richardson went down with an injury, but he has not really fully been given the reins, so to speak. With the way that he played for Indy last year, it is hard to argue that he couldn't be a quality starter elsewhere, assuming that Richardson is healthy and given back the starting role. Minshew is as competitive as it gets and finds a way to win games, even if it isn't always pretty. He excels throwing the ball down the field and is getting better at defaulting to the safer option when nothing is there with each passing week. This, along with his aforementioned winning ways, immediately puts him ahead of quite a few other starting quarterbacks in the league right then and there. Jake Browning. Jake Browning in 2023 was nearly the underdog story that Hollywood scriptwriters dream of. Here's a guy who's been lurking in the shadows, clipboard in hand, and gets slotted in for QB1 Joe Burrow. The NFL world had extremely tempered expectations for what Browning could accomplish slotting in for the superstar. In fact, many pundits ended the Bengals season right then and there. But Browning proved multiple times that he has all the prerequisites needed to establish himself as a starter in the NFL. In his 9 games, 7 of which he started, he completed just over 70% of his passes and threw 12 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And though he and the Bengals ultimately came up short of their postseason bid, he was very impressive throughout. Obviously, his starting opportunity will not be in Cincinnati as long as Joe Burrow heals up. But he has shown without a doubt that he's ready for a chance at the big time. Sam Darnold. It was clear that there was an NFL learning curve that Sam Darnold couldn't quite keep up with coming out of USC.
Seen ghosts.
But to be fair, he did join the Jets, an organization that isn't exactly known for its player development program. In fact, they're kind of the opposite. I mean, just look at their track record with quarterbacks that they took high in the draft. Mark Sanchez, he never really developed past a game manager. Zach Wilson? Boy, what a disaster that was. The point is, while Darnold didn't look great as a Jet, or as a Carolina Panther for that matter, the reality is that a lot of his struggles adapting to the professional level could and probably should be attributed to the situations around him. Darnold has extremely impressive physicality. He can make throws on the run with the best of them, and more than enough arm strength to make the lauded all of the throws for Darnold. It's just a matter of learning how to break down opposing defenses and limiting interceptions, 2 things that one would assume Kyle Shanahan is drilling into him out in San Francisco, where he now sits behind Brock Purdy. Darnold is still young enough that there's a reason to believe that he can evolve and grow as a quarterback, and if given an opportunity, he may very well be a quality starter in the NFL yet. Drew Lock. While Drew Lock's NFL career hasn't exactly been the pinnacle of consistency, there's no denying that he has several critical attributes that are required to become a competent starter in the NFL. Not only does he have a very strong arm that can stretch out the opposing defenses, but he actually has a sneaky level of mobility and athleticism that allows him to extend plays and make things difficult for the defensive secondary. It was refreshing to see him send a reminder notice out to the rest of the league this year when he got a chance to get out onto the field for the Seattle Seahawks. Locke looked more akin to the version of himself that we saw during the first couple of games as a rookie in Denver when people started to speculate if he could be the guy for the Broncos. That dream may have ended, but it was great to see that competitive spirit on full display. The guy just seems to have those leadership intangibles, where you can just tell that there is pretty much nothing that he wants more than to win. And his messaging does appear to resonate with his teammates. If he can just find a way to dial in on his decision-making, well, he could still very much turn into a high-level starter. Tyrod Taylor. There may not be a single guy in the NFL who's had more bad breaks that impacted his career trajectory than Tyrod Taylor. For starters, he had a 22-20 record in Buffalo back before they were the Josh Allen Bills, earning a Pro Bowl nod and leading the Bills to the playoffs after a massive postseason drought. Then, Buffalo, rightfully so, pushed their chips to the middle of the table to bring Josh Allen to Western New York, and thus the T-Mobile experience was over. Then he ended up in Cleveland, where he was playing in front of Baker Mayfield, the #1 overall pick in the draft, and an injury forced him out of play and ended his time as the starter there. Well, his next stop wasn't much better. In fact, it was several degrees worse. He ended up with the Chargers, where, again, he was playing in front of a young quarterback in Justin Herbert that the team had invested a high draft pick in and was a victim of malpractice from the medical staff, which forced him out of action and ultimately his job in LA. Now Taylor is with the Giants, where he massively outperformed Daniel Jones last season. But the team has just invested so much in Jones that maintaining the starting role this year is gonna be a challenge. The fact of the matter is that if Taylor doesn't end up winning the job this year in New York, he could 100% start somewhere else in the NFL. But which of the top NFL backup quarterbacks do you think should be a starter elsewhere? And where do you think they should go? Is there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, well, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.